Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 14th December 2017. UP plans tough law to tackle crime. You know that M-COCA and G-COCA already exist. It is Maharashtra Control of Organized Crime Act, Gujarat Control of Organized Crime Act. So these are meant to deter the terrorism and other organized crimes like land grabbing. So if we carefully observe, it reflects a political mindset in India in reference to crime. So it is strongly believed that tougher the laws are, they will act as a greater deterrence for the perpetrators of crime. So in this case, the criminal research has already proven that it is not the tough laws that deter the people from crime, it is the efficiency of the criminal justice delivery system. So, normally, making the tough laws is the easiest route for the politicians to take and to show to the people that they are working. Ultimately, these tough laws can be used by the state against the innocent, and they become a reason for excesses of the state and violation of the rights of the citizens. Now, if you take Tamil Nadu and if you take Andhra Pradesh, there is something called Gundas Act. So this Gundas Act, any person is framed under this, he will not get a bail easily or immediately. And similarly, under M-COCA and G-COCA, there are no provisions for bail. So an accused, either he did the crime or not, just being an accused, he is supposed to be in jail for long. So the tougher laws are not a solution for prevention of crime. It is the efficient criminal justice delivery system and a robust judiciary that makes that upholds rule of law and deters the crime from happening. That is my opinion. And second aspect related to criminal justice delivery system is this: the purpose of justice is not retribution, need not be retribution. The purpose of justice is reformation. Our society is more oriented towards retribution, and the criminal justice delivery system is also built in the same way. So integration of the people into the societal system and reforming them for a greater good, that is what the way the criminal justice has to take. And more time to link accounts to Aadhaar. So Aadhaar is a major issue with regard to privacy is concerned, because the big data which has been created through Aadhaar can increase the power of the state over the citizens. I told to you before that the citizen and state, there has to be a balance with each other. If the state becomes all powerful, then it ultimately encroaches the rights of the citizens. So how this balance has to be maintained? Through constitutional rights. So if these constitutional rights are being violated, then ultimately that will question the existing liberal architecture of our constitution. That is the point we need to remember here. So already, what is Aadhaar bill, now an act? What are the provisions of that we have discussed previously? And let's get into the editorial page. The facts do not matter. Now, how we make our judgments, let us take this way. So we all will have certain facts. Based on these facts, we form perspectives, opinions, or we hold discussions. So it means facts shall become the basis for our perspective, our value judgment. So when the facts are distorted or no relevance was given to the facts, obviously our perspective or value judgment is going to be biased. Simply mean, so if I do not see the fact before me, I ignore the fact and I want to conform to my mental comfort, obviously the distortion is going to take place. Normally among the people, they will create a simplistic worldview in their mind. The world is very complex and non-linear. It means there is no one-to-one relationship in the world. But in our mental construct, we make it very simple. Because of this happened. That's how we construct it as. But there may be ifs and buts which we ignore and we make a judgment. So we are not taking all the facts into consideration while making the value judgment. This is what we call it as confirmatory bias. We like to make an opinion which is in support of the world view which we enjoy. And second aspect of this is the growth of the social media. Today, let me give you an example. If you are using a Facebook, if some friend sends a message to you, you press the like button. So, the friend is confirming your worldview because he is just like you. It means your distorted world image is getting accentuated from the like-minded individuals. This is what we call it as closed loop circularity. It means your distorted view is getting more and more reinforced from the similar opinions which are held by the other people. As social media has taken over the print and electronic media, then this closed loop circularity is dominating our opinion making. So today, if you take Rahul Gandhi, you have certain image of him. How this image was constructed? Because of this closed loop circularity. Now, today the media trial is there everywhere. So it is more becoming a social media trial. So there is a competition for print media from electronic media, for electronic media from social media. So that's why everyone are ready to give you some or the other way of a distorted fact rather than clearly going and verifying the fact multiple times. The cardinal rule of media is to verify the fact, but it is missing now. So in this context, the social media has won the war because of ease of access to the customer and also speed with which it delivers and generation of the opinion or information from multiple sources. So this has very much relevance to our politics. So closed loop circularity or social media has given rise to the growth of right wing in India and also abroad. And one of the major reasons is the social media platforms are hijacking of social media, which has been called as is becoming a big truth today. Either it is Marine Le Pen in France, Modi, Trump, everywhere, the social media is a major tool for communication. So these are the articles which are being discussed. So the facts do not matter. Why the facts are not mattering? Because of our confirmation bias, our accentuation of falsehood and distorted reality in our mind through social media. These are affecting the liberal world view which our constitution has provided for. That is what is the essence we need to carry home over here. Now, hitting a dead end. It is about Tata Nano car, which has entered the Guinness World Record and as the cheapest car in the world. Now, Model T of Ford has revolutionized the automobile industry. He has brought in this car manufacturing on an assembly line, which has increased the speed of car manufacturing and decreased its cost. And the second innovation, second car revolution was expected to come from Nano, but it failed miserably. What is the reason? Any commercial product, if it has to be launched, it has to be attuned to the social need. It means if the Tata Nano is projected as poor man's car. In India, for middle class, car is more a social or a status symbol. So, when it is said as a poor man's car, people do not want to be on to be the side or to be branded as poor after buying a Nano. And second aspect to this is the license Raj or politics intervening with business. There are two sides to it. The Mamata Banerjee's opposition in Singur to Tata Nano, if we observe, so the business has got lost. And if you go to Gujarat, the incentives provided to Nano shows the discretionary system which is existing or the discretionary power of the politicians to offer benefits to the business. Both of them are visible in Tata Nano's car. The outsider, it is about adultery. You already know section 497 of Indian Penal Code, it deals with adultery. So, A man, if he involves with an intercourse with another man's wife without consent of the individual, it is a punishable offense. There are certain takeaway points over here. The first is the man who is involving with intercourse, he is liable for punishment. The woman is not liable for punishment. And second aspect over here is if the consent of the husband exists, punishment do not come into the picture, because wife is seen as a property of man, and as man has consented, another man can have an intercourse with her. That's how the law is being built up. So my point is, there is a gender bias in adultery law, and second, woman is more seen in a derogatory terms over here. So in this context, Supreme Court earlier held that the lack of punishment for the woman in adultery comes from the protection given to her under Article 15, Subclause 3 of the Constitution. Now it is about to change its view on this matter altogether. But there is another point over here. Across the world, adultery is no more a criminal offense. It is more seen as a basis for divorce. But in India, we still continue it as a criminal offense. So the law has to change in such a way that it has to move away, or it has to be removed from Indian Penal Code altogether. That is what this article talks about. ISIS, this is what. Now, what is the reason? What was the reason for the growth of ISIS in Iraq? So, ISIS roots are there in the sectarian violence in Iraq. If you take the Iraq's demography, you have Sunnis, Shias and Kurds. Mr. Saddam Hussein has used the chemical weapons against Kurds. Shia is a majority. Now, Nouri al-Maliki, Haider al-Abadi, the prime ministers after Iraqi war, these are Shias. And this Shia government is also getting a strong support from Iran. Most of them are dominant in South Iraq, and it is relatively peaceful. On the other hand, Sunnis are dominant in West and North Iraq. Mosul is an important city over there. So in this context, the Sunnis started feeling alienated from the regime. Nouri al-Maliki government has made sure that it is more Shia biased. But on the other hand, the present government is trying to bring in reapproachment between various groups. So in this context, Kurds have conducted a referendum, ordered for a referendum for an autonomous state. So if the sectarian violence grows again in Iraq, it is going to provide for a ground for any other extremist group as like ISIS. The gains of war can only be consolidated when there is a strong civilian support for that. If the civilian support has to come, the state shall not become biased towards one sect or other sect. The state shall be an instrument for reapproachment. In this context, I want to talk to you about Nelson Mandela. After such a bitter war between the races, his rainbow revolution is to create a country which is built on consensus and reapproachment, and which is built on forgiveness and empathy. So that is how the world has to move on. Now, disqualification moves. Already we discussed this article in detail. That is, 10th schedule, it talks about anti-defection law. Anti-defection law only comes into picture when a person violates the whip of a given political party on the floor of the house, or he resigns from its membership. Most of the times, disqualification under anti-defection law is referred to privileges committee of the house, and committee's report gets delayed and the process is also delayed. So Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, the chairman of Rajya Sabha, has stated that this delay is killing the spirit of the law which was enacted. To uphold its spirit, all anti-defection related matters have to be dismissed or have to be decided within 3 months of time. That's what his statement is. That is what this article has restated. A tale of two metro rails. Now, public-private partnerships are growing for infrastructure development. Most of the times there is a trust deficit between public and private partner. So government tries to enforce its will on the private partner, and private partner accuses government as non-cooperative. Now, in public-private partnerships, both of them shall see each other as equals. So, agreement between them plays an important role. The success of Hyderabad Metro Rail depends on the strength of this agreement. The agreement has to fix the responsibility for failures, and it also has to delineate the functions to be carried by each partner. Then only it will be appropriate. So it talks about the need for a strong agreement between the things. Now let's get into the next page. So Piyush Goyal releases Jayanti Rahul mails. Let's keep the privacy issues aside. The non-state actor shall not get involved beyond a point in decision making of the state. But however, non-state actors can influence the decision making through bringing in a positive argument. So this is about the civil society, how it has to play a role. And then a three-nation Indo-Pacific compact has come up. It is between India, Australia and Japan. And then WTO, India ups ante on food security. Here there is a word used that is called as peace clause. So till a permanent solution on food security concerns of the developing countries is found, a peace clause will exist. This peace clause says that a 10% of the value of a given crop can be procured by the state for the needs of food security of its people. That is what we call it as peace clause. Now Government of India argues that this peace clause has to be extended and shall be made as a permanent solution. And then in the last page I gave you the notes which will be available to you at laix.in/CivilsPrep. And one more thing is, if you read these notes, then you can better understand the arguments which I made to you. My purpose is not to give you the facts, is to give you a perspective on a particular topic. And if you see this year's GS paper 2, the entire paper, it is all about perspectives. If you have followed these current affairs, probably you could have written all the 20 questions which have come up in the examination. Just try to go through the paper and see the previous notes which I gave you. I'm not boasting itself, but I did a considerable work on this. And thank you very much. All the best.